Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Welcome back. We move 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. We gain ground. We never fall back. We are the Backflick Cinema, the podcast. I am your host, Zo. That's Z-O or Z-O for people outside over the United States. We're taking a look back at the movies of yesteryear. This is the 82nd episode. Thank you for downloading and streaming. We really appreciate it. The reason we started the show was to strengthen the bond between my son, Zach, and me. We watched movies that I loved when I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, and I'm going to tell you what Zach thought. Well, I was going to tell you what Zach thought, but because of scheduling conflicts, we weren't able to be together to watch the movie together. But I will tell you a little bit about what my grandson, Christopher, thought about this movie. And basically, he really liked it. Even though there were some things that about this movie were dated, he really enjoyed this movie. And if you like what you're about to hear, please take some time out of your busy schedule to offer a tiny bit of support by giving us a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. And you can share our show on social media. We appreciate it. Speaking of which, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and TikTok. You can find the details in the show notes. And just a little hiccup over here. A few episodes ago, I had made the mistake of having a guest on and not recording like half of the interview, and that kind of happened here. We started this show with a very special guest, and I forgot to start the recording, but we didn't get into like the meat and potatoes of the podcast. So I had asked him some questions, and some of those questions are on the unrecorded portion, but then I realized my mistake just in time. And then, so we got some of it. We got some of the stuff that we were supposed to, that was supposed to happen so we got most of the podcast. But there was a tiny section in the beginning that I didn't have them. So we have a very special guest from the Movie Lovers Unite podcast. His name is John DiGregorio, and what you're about to hear next is our conversation. This is the second time that happened. But
don't feel bad. I did 30 minutes of a review.
Then
the record button.
Right. So the neat thing about this is that I didn't record half of the show before I hit the record button. So that's good. We haven't even gotten into the show yet. so that's a beautiful thing. So ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, I'm just now hitting the record button for my very special guest from the Movie Lovers Unite podcast. Is an outstanding podcast and a YouTube channel. If you get a chance, go out and take a look at that. The special guest I have for you today is John DiGregorio. John, thank you for joining the Backflick Cinema podcast. It's an honor and a privilege having you.
Thank you, man. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate us being able to talk about one of my favorite films from the early 80s into the early 90s as well, because that's whenever I first discovered Short Circuit. So it's just awesome to be able to be here.
So John, how long have you been podcasting?
God, I've been doing this since 2019, and I've been bit with the podcast bug. At first, I have my YouTube channel, but at that time I only had like a few hundred subscribers, enough to guarantee me to be able to go live like I want to. So therefore, because YouTube changed up their rules, I couldn't go live. I couldn't do any type of editing or anything like that, because it takes me about 3 hours because of my internet connection. So one of my friends like, have you tried podcasting? I said, no, but I always wanted to. So I download the Anchor app, and then next thing I know it, I have like 600 and something episodes recorded.
So how is podcasting different from YouTube, making YouTube videos?
Tell you what, doing the audio stuff, you have to make sure that all your levels are perfectly well balanced, and make sure that each line actually corresponds to what you're trying to do. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. The bass levels are going to be all messed up and stuff like that. And it takes hours of editing versus doing a video. Don't get me wrong, doing a video probably takes up to about 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours probably. but doing podcasting and making sure that every single thing is actually perfect and making sure that there's no popping, no distortion, nothing like that. That's a very hard thing to do because I'm still editing out one of my episodes from last week. And it takes about, God knows, about 9 hours for me just to edit out one episode. And I love my YouTube channel and what I'm doing over there. Matter of fact, we just gained 1,152 subscribers over there.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah. That is fascinating. So what's the most exciting guest that you've had on your show?
Okay, so I actually had my first year out, right? It was 2020, pandemic time. Almost everybody's doing a podcast, right? I actually had the assistant director for Vikings on my show. I actually had to get up really early in the morning for that interview because of the fact he lived in Ireland. So I had to correspond with his time schedule. Then I also had Eric from Dexter. I actually had him on my show, who's actually the cameraman for Dexter.
Wow, that is awesome. You're really getting out there.
Yeah, and then the most exciting thing I would have to say that happened to me last year was the fact that I actually had Netflix reach out to me, wanted me to do a trailer reaction, and then next thing I know it, I'm actually in the Holly Shorts Film Festival reviewing short films for films that are going to be nominated for the Oscars. So that was just something that was unexpected last year.
Wow, that is totally awesome. So I'm glad that you're getting out there in the entertainment space, and I'm just honored to have you on the show. Thank you for so much.
You're very welcome, and I'm honored as well to be on here with you.
What you call it? I'm flustered. I'm flustered right now because I wanted to transition to the next segment, but I'm saying the wrong words in order to do that. So we are going to transition to the opening credits after this short pause.
Hello, everyone. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are the hosts of the Made for TV Movie Club podcast. Beth, we've been friends for a long time.
We sure have, Kay, since before Rachel kissed Ross for the first time.
It's true, and since we share a love of all things TV, we decided to team up to review our favorite TV movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
You don't need to watch the movie. We did that for you.
You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, including Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, and iHeartRadio.
And find us on our socials.
Join us in our Facebook group, Made for TV Movie Club Podcast. Follow us on Insta at made_for_TV_movie_club. Tweet us at TV Movie Club Pod 1.
Or give us a Goog at #TVMC Podcast, and you'll find us.
We'll see you soon in the clubhouse.
All right, we're back. We are back, and we are in the opening credits. And the movie that I watched with John is a movie that is dear to both of our hearts. We both grew up watching this movie. This movie was like it. Now, I'm going to acknowledge that there are some problematic moments in this movie. There are some stuff that happens, right? But it was the 80s, and you know how we have to make excuse for the 80s. You know, there are things that they did back in the day that, you know, we're just not going to accept now. And we're going to confront that. But still, even when I rewatched the movie, I was like, you know what? I still like this movie. So the movie that we're talking about is Short Circuit. So John, let us know what is Short Circuit about?
So Short Circuit is actually about basically number 5. One of the group of the experimental military robots undergoes a sudden transformation after being struck by lightning. He develops self-awareness, consciousness, and fear of reprogramming that awaits him back at the factory. With the help of a young woman, number 5 tries to evade capture for inconvenience. His creator that he has truly become alive. Jean-Marc Roker. That's actually Roker at fiberbit.net, IMDb.
Right. So that I felt like that was an apt description. Thank you, Mr. Roker. And this movie was released May 9th, 1986, produced by TriStar Pictures, Producer Sales Organization, and Truman Foster Company. It grossed over $40 million in the US and Canada, and it was on a $15 million budget. It had middling reviews. And yeah, not everybody was going to be pleased. Not everybody was pleased with this movie. It's still flustered. I don't know what it is. Anyway, continuing on. I know words. I'm gonna get the words out. I can do this.
Yes,
I've
got this.
Right. I've only been doing this for a couple of years. I think I know how to speak into a microphone. So tell us.
So I think you're doing good.
Thanks. Appreciate that. So John, let us know who was in this movie.
Ali Shady, as Stephanie Spick. She also played in the Breakfast Club and War Games and High Art.
Yeah, I think you pronounce her name Sheedy, Ali Sheedy.
Sheedy, yeah, Sheedy, yeah.
I think that's how you say it. I know that she was a big deal back in that time, but I didn't watch a lot of movies that she was in. Like I did see War Games, but I don't remember it. And like the Breakfast Club, High Art, some of the other movies that she's been in, I haven't seen. But I have seen our next actor, Steve Guttenberg, played Newton Crosby. He's been in 3 Men and a Baby, the Police Academy series, and Cocoon. You know what? There was a time when you could not get away from Steve Guttenberg. He seemed to be in everything. He was just there. He was a big deal. And then he kind of just, I'm not saying that he faded away because he's still acting. He's still in a lot of TV shows right now. He's still, I think he does some voice acting too, but he's prolific in television, but he was a huge star back in the 80s.
Most definitely. I still remember some of the movies that he's been in and stuff like that. It just seems like he kind of strayed away from the acting thing, I guess, for a little bit. I don't know, but I like him. But Fisher Stevens as Ben Jobetti. He also played in Hackers, Super Mario Brothers, and Awake.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Fisher Stevens' character later on. But moving right along, we have Austin Pendleton. He was Howard Marner. He's been in The Muppet Movie from 1979, My Cousin Vinny, and Finding Nemo.
And we also have J.W. Bailey as Groder. And he played in Police Academy, Mannequin, Rustlers, Rhapsody.
Yeah, he's a great character actor. I know him most from Police Academy and Rustlers Rhapsody, but he tends to show up like in a lot of different places. Have you seen the movie Rustlers Rhapsody?
No, but I have seen Police Academy and Mannequin. Those were the two movies that I've seen him in. And whenever he shows up, his presence is pretty much known.
Right. I would recommend that you check out Rustlers Rhapsody. I think I'm going to try to do that on the podcast. I'm not sure if it's actually a good movie or even if I liked it, but I do remember watching it a lot when I was growing up. So moving right along, we have Brian McNamara. He played Frank. He's been in Arachnophobia, The Flaming Kid, and Caddyshack 2.
And then we have Tim Blaney as the voice of number 5. He played in Men in Black, Muppets, and then he also played in Muppets Tonight, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and
yeah, he's a prolific voice actor and puppeteer. Next up is Marvin J. McIntyre. He played Duke. He's been in The Running Man, Back to the Future Part 3, and Pale Rider. So that's it for our actors, the actors that I have chosen to feature on the show. So up next, who directed this, John?
Directed by John Badham. He actually directed War Games, Saturday Night Fever, and Blue Thunder.
Yeah, he has a fair amount of directed credits, and he's directed some bangers. So I've seen all of those. Well, I didn't really see Saturday Night Fever, but it was hard to get away from it, right? It was just kind of there exactly. All the time. But yeah, those is
TNT or TBS. But yeah,
right. So also this movie was written by S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, and Jay Tarsis, who goes uncredited. So S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock, they're a writing team, and together they've done Tremors, Batteries Not Included, and Heart and Souls. And Jay Tarsis, he's done the Bob Newhart Show, the Carol Burnett Show, and the Great Muppet Caper. So I imagine that they brought in Jay Tarsis to punch up the script, make it funnier. Sadly, there were some parts, like I'll talk about it later, but there's one joke in the movie that didn't work, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're going to have a joke that's featured in the movie, the joke should be funny. So
Exactly.
Moving right along. Who's next?
So we have the music, and it's by David Shire. And he actually has 156 credits as a composer. He also has done Ash Wednesday, Zodiac, The Taking of Pelham 123, the 1974 version.
Yeah, the thing about the composers of these movies is that they tend to have a lot of credits, and they're the ones, like, you rarely hear like a bad composition, right? So the competition in this movie was fairly good, but I don't think I didn't put in the main thing that I wanted to write in the music section, and that is the pop music that usually occurs in the 80s, but I have it more in the trivia section. So that's it for our opening credits. And if you're enjoying the show, you can get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, face masks, jerseys, and more at our refurbished website, backlinkcinema.com/shop. Check weekly for new designs and products. And I'll leave the links to teespring.com and tpublic.com in case there's some stuff there that you like. And up next, we're going to talk about our favorite parts.
What was some of your favorite parts? And then after that, I'll go into some of mine.
All right. So some of my favorite parts was when number 5 is basically all of the antics of number 5. Like, that was beautifully done. So like when number 5 is first becomes self-aware, and he goes around, and then people are like asking what he wants, and he wants input, right? So he's going around screaming at people, I want input. So that was all. Basically every scene that he's in, is a portion of my favorite part.
Same here as well. I love number 5 to death. Number 5 is hands down one of my favorite robots. Matter of fact, I remember this is a little bit of a thing from the second movie, but I remember the remote controls that they were trying to sell in the second movie. I was like, I want one of those, but I know it was just for the movies. But if I wanted my own number 5, that's what I would want. But aside from that, my favorite scenes would be with him and Tiffany. And I liked it when he's like, input. I need input, Stephanie. Input. And she's like, look, you read everything in my house already. Okay. What else do you want? And she thinks that he's an alien the whole entire time too. So she doesn't realize that he's actually a robot from this factory. And she realizes after the fact that he falls over the porch, which I thought was hilarious because the dog is actually scaring him. But another thing I like is when Scroder gets introduced, though, too. Remember, Steve Gutenberg's character goes, "Oh, hey, Scrotum."
Right.
And
yeah,
that was
there's
actually my
something
favorite
about
line.
that.
But yeah.
Right. There's something about that in the trivia of being called scrotum. Steve Gutenberg, he's also a delight. It's just fun seeing him on screen. Maybe I should catch a TV show that he's featured in, because he's always been entertaining when I see him. So he the same way in this movie, and I like the dynamic that he has in the movie of him being like, he's like essentially a peace-loving civilian working as a government contractor, I guess because he needs the money or something like that. So he initially developed number 5 for, I guess, general, as like something like a general purpose robot, and the military basically kind of took over and made it into a kind of war robot. So that was an interesting aspect of this movie.
Right. There's something that I noticed this time that I didn't notice back when I was a kid. Remember the robot that was going around the base give us doing like hot coffee and stuff like that, and number 5 is basically around that area, and he just happens to be just glancing at the robot like how you and I would actually glance at a woman or something.
Right.
That's just something. I'm like, okay, I didn't realize that this was in here like that. I'm like, okay, I like this little touch of realism with the robot. That's actually really different. So I thought that was really cool.
Another aspect that I like is Stephanie Speck, that character played by Ali Sheedy. So she's actually the star of this movie, and she has this thing for animals. So she has animals all around her yard. So I like that character development in the movie. She's like really, really into animals. It's almost embarrassing for her, right?
Right. Especially when number 5 comes over there and just destroys her kitchen. And she's like, he goes, spaghetti, and just demolishes her whole entire supper. And then she puts him in front of the TV like a kid, and he's just absorbing all this stuff that he's watching because he's not used to watching a TV program. And next thing you know, he's reenacting everything that he sees on TV, which I thought was hilarious because I never seen a movie like that back when I was little, where it actually represents kids in front of a television, and basically the television is actually the babysitter, and number 5 is just absorbing it just like a kid would. I'm just cracking up laughing the whole time whenever he's doing that.
Right. You know what he reminds me of, and I just thought of this. He reminds me of the Junkions on the Transformers movie. So the Junkions have this thing where they basically regurgitate everything that they see on television, and they use a lot of television terms. And this is what number 5 is doing. You know, he does the car salesman voice, or he does like a different, like he does the Three Stooges at one point. So yeah, he's and you get a kind of a feel for the things that he likes and the things that, you know, he doesn't, I guess, like as much. I think he really doesn't like the concept of death, right? So it's funny. That's another great scene, is how he learns about things that die and then don't come back.
Yeah, that was my favorite part though too, where he's actually jumping up and down like a grasshopper, and he winds up killing the grasshopper, and he tells Stephanie this, trying to get her to repair it. Because I can't repair it. Reassemble, Stephanie. Reassemble. I cannot reassemble that. It is dead. Oh. And then he turns around and goes, wait. So when you disassemble something, you die. And then he gets it all of a sudden, where the light comes on in his head. Wait, they're going to disassemble me. I'm going to die. Because she called up New Crosby, and this. I'm still geeking out and cracking up over it. But you know, the other guy that what's his name? The one that plays the Indian guy. I thought some of his lines were really good though too. Because whenever he says, "Oh, I'm going to use the John," but he calls it something else, and then it's like little small things that I like, that I still crack up on, but I'm like, ooh, should I be cracking up on this or not? Because of the fact that I know that, like you're like, how we do, right? We laugh at something and like, wait, should I be laughing? Should I not be laughing? Because of what we know now.
Yeah, he was definitely being stereotypical, but at the same time, he had the funniest lines. And mostly, I think of it as him being, he's basically a fish out of water. He's an immigrant, and so he gets the colloquialisms mixed up, and he gets some of the local sayings mixed up. So yeah, it's funny how he gets all that confusing, but he delivers it. He delivers his lines perfectly. So he had the funniest lines, and he was one of the funniest things about this movie, right? So
especially the part where he goes, "Oh, we're gonna punch the bag and turn in. What is a new day?" Basically, what he says. But also too, there was also this other line that he goes, "Oh, we get to see women."
Right.
And he's trying so hard to get Steve Cronenberg's character to get laid, or, just to interact with another woman, because it has been a long time since Cronenberg has even been out of the factory. So that's something that I thought was really funny.
Right. He is
Because
abnormally interested in Steve Gutenberg's love life.
you know what, though, I find fascinating, though? And you know how you said that basically his character is basically a fish out of water? Steve Gutenberg's character is basically a fish out of water who's trying to relearn things all over again because he hasn't seen the light of day. He's trying to learn to drive. He's trying to figure out how the world actually works on the outside of things because he's been cooped into the lab so long that he actually forgot his way of living. Versus the other character who knows of way of living and everything, even though he might get some acronyms mixed up and things like that, but he has a way of actually living and he's trying to bring that out in him. So that's something that I thought of just now, just randomly, just thinking about it.
Yeah, it seems like they all have difficulty adjusting to like real life. So Steve Gutenberg, he's socially awkward, right? And then you have the Schroeder character. He doesn't understand how to talk to regular people. Like he's so entrenched in military thinking and military speak that he doesn't know how to, interface with a normal person. And then you have, I think, I forgot the name of the what do you call it? The guy who's the head of the company.
I know who you're talking about.
Was it Frank or was it Duke? I can't remember.
I think it was Frank.
No, wait a minute.
Frank.
Or was it Frank or was it Howard Warner?
Warner. Howard Warner's actually sounds correct. Yeah, it was right. Warner.
Right. So yeah, it is Warner. Now I remember. So Howard Warner played by Austin Pendleton. Like, so he was also somebody who, like, he was so concerned with like business concerns that he doesn't understand the motivations of his employees or what drives them, or he doesn't like he's not taking other people's point of view into consideration, right? So everybody seems to have problems interfacing.
Well, I think he's actually someone that forgot who he was when he first started the company, because remember what you have Steve Gutenberg's character says, because you would be tracking him down without any weapons and helping us versus doing what Schroeder wants you to do. Remember? And he goes, "Oh, you're not going to shoot us." He goes, "Really? What makes you think I'm not going to shoot you?" And so, you have that kind of thing going where I feel like this guy probably forgot where he came from and forgets how to negotiate with people and talk to people. And he got lost in the whole entire company, which is not hard to do whenever you become public with corporate and stuff like that, dealing with the political powers that be. Therefore, you get lost in the system. So that's what I got out of it.
And he seems to be, I got Bill Gates vibe when I was looking at him, right? Because around this time, Bill Gates was a really big deal. So, and I think that they modeled this character off of what they think Bill Gates is like.
I could see that. I could definitely see them building off that model of Bill Gates because of how he carries himself, and he's kind of this awkward kind of guy, and he's trying to mingle, but he doesn't know how to mingle. And then, of course, you actually see the girl that wants to talk to Steve Gutenberg's character, and she doesn't want to talk to talk to the head person in charge. She wants to talk to the creator, and of course, he has that kind of awkwardness to him, where it does feel like a Bill Gates kind of character.
And so another one of my favorite parts is when the crew, like when Steve Gutenberg and like Ali Sheehy, her character, she's Stephanie, she's all in. Like when number 5 tells her that he is alive, like she's all in on it. So now they both have to convince Steve Gutenberg that number 5 is alive, right? So they're going around doing all of these tests, and Steve's character, Newton, is asking all of these questions, trying to figure out. So this is what I was talking about, the joke. So Steve or Newton tries to tell this joke, and I forgot what the joke was, but it was like a bar joke with a priest and rabbi or something like that, and they throw money into the air and whatever God wants he keeps. And that joke wasn't funny, but number 5 laughs at it, and I was like, that scene would have worked so much more if they used a joke that was actually funny, right? It
was like, here's the thing, I don't know the actual joke that was used for that scene in particular, but I think it's actually trying to teach number 5 if he's actually alive or not, just because. And how some people tell like a lame joke, I think that it was isn't supposed to be for us. I think it was supposed to be basically where, that's so lame that somebody's going to fake laugh, and you're going to fake laugh if you're alive. So I'm thinking that it lands because of the fact that number 5 is reacting to it as if how we would react to it. Like, ha ha ha, I get it now. Uh-huh. Yeah, funny joke. Good job.
Yeah, I guess. I guess he could have.
But it just doesn't. But it doesn't snick its landing. I'm going to be honest. But I understand from that perspective, though.
Right. Here's the thing, right? Obviously when I was younger, the joke wasn't really funny to me. And then as I watch it as an adult, it's like, yeah, this joke is still not funny.
it's like, you know what? When I get older, I'll understand. Just like our parents say, you know what, son, when you get older, you'll understand. A couple years later, I still don't understand.
Right.
It's just not meant for me to understand.
Right. So, but that all makes sense. So anyways, they also have number 5 escaping from the same models that are from his brothers, right? He's escaping from his brothers. What I liked about the number 5 design is that he looks like what we're the bomb diffusing robots that the military and the police use, the robots that they send in to defuse bombs. So that's what he looks like. But he seems so much bigger. Like he's as big as a person. Like he's like 6 feet tall if he stands on his treads a certain type of way. So, and then he's got this laser, but he doesn't want to kill anything. So he uses laser for peaceful purposes. He doesn't even shoot at his brothers, right? His brothers are trying to trap him and trying to shoot him, but he'll cause a trap. So I forgot, one of the robots got caught up in, I don't know, the toilet or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the other robots, he kind of rewired and had them reenact the Three Stooges. And so, yeah, but he doesn't out and out destroy them, right? So, and he's true to his character. I really enjoyed that.
I love when it returns him into the Three Stooges. That's actually hands down one of my favorite things. But you were mentioning the lasers, though, too. Remember the douchebag boyfriend of Stephanie's and how he wanted to trade him in for money, and then number 5 doesn't try and kill the boyfriend. He just goes on ahead, disassembles his car as a prank, and then he goes on ahead and takes his laser and lasers off the tip of his hat, and then he takes the laser again and undoes his belt to make his pants fall off. It's like little small threatening things to where you can feel the threat, but he's not going to do anything to you. He just wants you off his lawn. Right. That's basically what so I thought that was actually pretty funny with that way he uses lasers, because the fact that he doesn't use it to, like you said, to destroy anything. He just does it just to prove a point, which is something that I really enjoyed about it. But the Three Stooges bit was funny, and then Schroeder being all pissed off and everything because of the fact that he turned them into the Three Stooges. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and the thing that he disassembled the car using the one of those mechanic books, right, that you buy at the what you call it, the AutoZone. Right. And he's holding up the book to show how he disassembled the car, like just basic stuff. It's brilliant.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to say reassemble the car. It'd be like, oh, here you go.
Right.
But I do feel for Stephanie with the douchebag boyfriend and stuff like that, with her being abused by him. And then, you see, basically she actually needs number 5 more than number 5 needs her. So you have that kind of thing. But what was weird for me was seeing her almost falling for a robot.
I don't know. I didn't get the feeling yet.
I don't know.
I think she was falling. I think the robot was kind of falling for her. Like they had that dance scene. That was a cute little dance scene. I think she finds a robot charming, but she's not. I don't think she's gonna fall for a robot. I think she falls for the robot the same way she falls for her pets. I think that was why that her taking care of animals was an important aspect of her character, right? So, from her perspective, number 5 is kind of like one of her stray animals, and she feels the need to protect him.
That's true. I didn't think of it in that terms. That actually does make sense, and also too, it goes to show you that hey, look, there's going to be guys out there that will actually treat you 10 times better than anything too. So just keep your eyes open for whoever might be right. It might be someone that you're looking for that, somebody might actually have the same character traits as number 5, and you just have to look for that person than someone else. So that's also another thing I was thinking too. But this is me on a deep level. But but no, the humor still works in some areas. In some areas, it's like, really awkward in some spots. What about for you though?
The only one that didn't really work was when they told the intentional joke, but everything else pretty much worked pretty well for me because I look at it as a kid's film and it works really well as a kid's movie. So
Yes.
most of the jokes work for me. The antics works for me. How number 5 is just interacting with everybody, that works for me. Or how he's trying to get away, like he's always running away, so that was always funny. It works pretty good as a kid's comedy, and
Yes.
and even as an adult I still enjoy it, but it's mostly nostalgia at this point, right?
Exactly, man. It's nostalgia, hands down. It's the 80s. Like I forgot, my co-host Alex and I were reviewing one movie, right? Because I just don't know how to watch this because of, I said, it's the 80s. Anything just let it go. It's just the 80s. You're just gonna have to let it breathe and let it go through you. It's the 80s. Anything happens, anything goes. Forget about logic. Forget about being PC. There is no PC in the 80s. Just have fun.
Right. Well, there was a little bit. It was like I felt like in the 80s where they were starting to learn, because in the 70s it was bad. It's like they didn't and as it progressed, like obviously in the 20s and 30s, it was like they didn't care. In the 60s they still didn't really care that much, and then start moving into the 70s, they still had some issues and complications, like and really bad, especially towards certain minorities. And then as it progresses, it start getting better. So like in the 80s you can see them it's better than it was in the 70s, right? And then in the 90s obviously it was better than it was in the 80s. So and then even now now people are complaining, right? They'll say, well, now it's woke. It's like, no, it's not woke. It's like it's just that people are being represented now that weren't represented before, right? So that
Right.
we're kind of seeing a steady progression. But and then along with that progress, you're going to see some backlashes, some complaints, and things of that nature.
Of course, you can't please everybody. You're not gonna please everybody. If we did, the world would be boring anyways, because everybody would be thinking the same level as everybody else. So, and I'm okay with that though. I'm okay with showing, different races and stuff like that, and being represented in the right context and stuff. I think it's about time that the right people are being up front and center.
Right. So do you have any more favorite parts that you wanted to talk about?
You think here? Well, there was actually the desert scene, things like that too, where basically, you have number 5 trying to put Stephanie and him together too. I forgot about that as well. And so now you have 2 people trying to hook him up. So it's like, okay, so Steve's like, you know what? I might actually give this a shot because I do have a chance. And remember when he goes, you know what? I came very close to holding your hand. And then Schroeder comes in.
Right.
It felt like a kid on the first date. Like you're 6 years old and you're about to hold this girl's hand for the first time. And then your dad walks in to ruin it all. Right.
He was talking to, what's his name? His partner. He was talking to Ben. So the funny thing when he was talking to Ben is like all vulgar. It's like, I think he said something at one point. He's like, "Oh, I have an enormous erection right now." I was like, God, Ben.
He doesn't let anything. Remember what else he says though too, that I thought that was actually pretty funny. Whenever Steve Goldberg's character looks at him and goes, "So, where are you from?" He goes, "Bakersfield."
Yes, I love that part. Yeah. I think he said Pittsburgh, but it's like, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Pittsburgh. It's like, no, I mean, where are you really from? Like, well, Bakersfield. It's like, I love that because it's like, don't try to other me. I'm not other. I'm an American citizen. This.
Right. That is, I love it. The chemistry back and forth between them two was really spot on. They did a really good job with that. But as far as my other favorite scenes and everything, I think I covered everything. Well, even the chopper part with Schroeder was actually funny too. And then he turns it into something else. Because when did that become a thing?
Right.
Because remember, so yeah.
All right, cool. All right, we've talked about our favorite part, so we're going to transition over to the trivia.
Okay. Number 5's full designation is a SAINT number 5. That's S-A.I.N.T, SAINT. The acronym S.A.I.N.T stands for Strategic Artificial Intelligent Nuclear Transport.
Yeah, because apparently they are nuclear powered, so that would explain the power of the lasers. Their lasers can either undo your belt buckle or they can stop a tank. So very versatile laser that they carry.
Exactly.
As as per the movie's attempt to portray a living robot in the real world, quote unquote, every part of Johnny and his brethren were built to have specific logical purpose behind them. This was originally a source of contention between director John Badham and the robot's designer Sid Meier, or Sid Mead, the later of whom, instead of giving Johnny eyes in order to give the character a method of visual expressing emotion, as a result, Johnny's iconic eyelids, quote unquote, were created with the explanation that they were sun guards and camera coverings. So you just couldn't put some stuff on the robot and say, well, those are eyebrows. Like, no, they have to have an actual purpose.
Right. And to be honest with you, the sun guards actually work though, because they actually do feel like they're going over his eyes to make it feel more alive. So I definitely think it suited the character of Johnny 5. So
absolutely. They work very well.
So 1.4 million of the film's 15 million budget was spent on the creation of number 5, which we can actually understand why. So
yeah,
the details in it.
Yeah, it had great details. I wonder if that goes for all the robots or just number 5. It seemed to me that it's the collection. I don't think they spent like $6 million to create all of the robots. I think they spent $1 million to create all of the robots. But yeah, those robots were very well designed. So kudos to that. Anytime you see number 5's arm or hand doing something without the rest of him in the frame, it's because the robot puppet is not capable of doing the action, like rolling up a window or opening storage compartments, etc. So that was clever. That's pretty much what you see in most movies.
Yeah, most definitely. I also feel like this movie is actually ahead of its time, though, too, especially now when we have a lot more robots and stuff like that that's happening in the world today. But yeah, I can definitely see it.
And a lot of the robots we see today are CGI. And speaking of seeing somebody's hand, like without seeing the rest of them, a lot of times it's not that particular actor. They're using like a body double. Like if you see a close-up of a hand, like looking at a watch or something like that, that's probably the second unit director doing some stuff, right?
Right, exactly. But it would have been cool if the number 5 could actually do that, though. Just saying.
Right, absolutely.
Let's see. The 3 interchangeable radio-controlled heads were built for number 5, so facial expression could be properly accelerated according to the scene, which makes sense because of the fact that, like I said, whenever you look at the sunshades with his covering his eyes, it actually works. And even his eyes in itself, though, has some range and emotion, though, to it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. That works extremely well. The number 5 weighed 250 pounds or 113.4 kilograms. He was a big boy.
It is a big dude. That was a big robot. In this film, in Short Circuit 2, 1988, Johnny Five's voice was provided by puppeteer Tim Blaney. This casting decision was made due to the director's belief the real-time interaction with the robot prop would make the interaction seem more natural on screen than if they edited Johnny's voice in during post-production.
So I guess he was like there, like on the scene, basically acting with the other characters as number 5. So that worked awesome. And this dovetails into the next bit, which is Blaney was selected to voice and operate number 5 on set after John Badham heard Blaney's robot voice and liked it. Blaney was originally intended to supply only a placeholder voice for number 5 during filming, which was to be dubbed over later by another voice actor. After 3 months of filming, the crew got so used to hearing Blaney's voice as number 5 that they could not imagine anyone else in the roles. And so Blaney was officially cast. So that's pretty awesome. That worked out. Not like Darth Vader. It didn't work out well for Darth Vader, but it worked out for John. For Blaney. Do you know about Darth Vader's incident?
I know that the voice was actually acted out by James Earl Jones, and then somebody else winded up playing Darth Vader. But what else was there, though?
Well, here's what happened. So obviously they cast the bodybuilder. I forgot his name, which I am shamed that I can't remember his name. So anyways, they cast this bodybuilder from Great Britain to play Darth Vader, right? So he has a very high, I don't want to say high pitch, but it's not a voice that you expect Darth Vader to play. But he said all of his lines when he was acting out scenes, and he fully expected to be the voice of Darth Vader. And he was super pissed that they actually had another actor in mind to do the voice of Darth Vader. Like they didn't tell him, and he was totally pissed about it. And when James Earl Jones, and when the movie was originally released, he didn't actually get credit as the voice of Darth Vader, I guess because they wanted to make it mysterious, and he didn't care. He's like, it's just a little project that he was doing. But then so in the sequel, in Empire Strikes Back, when the actor came back to play Darth Vader, he was so not, like even if you're acting, even if your scenes are not going to be used, you still try to act. And he was not, he was just phoning it in at that point as far as doing the voice acting, because he knew it was going to be replaced. He was still pissed off till the day he died that his voice was replaced by James Earl Jones. So it didn't work out for him, but it worked out for Blaney, who did the voice, knowing that it was going to be replaced, but they liked him so much that they kept him on.
You know what? I'm glad they did, because I couldn't see or hear anybody else playing that voice but Blaney himself. So I can understand why the people in post-production were like, you know what? We're going to hire you on because of the fact that you can actually carry the voice of number 5 and you're actually a good voice actor. So, I definitely am happy that Blaney was actually cast for Short Circuit 1 and 2.
Yeah, not only that, but
so
what was it? As far as Blaney was concerned, I'm starting to slobber, my bad. It was spittle. It was going to come out of spit, and then it started to slobber. But he's not just doing number 5's voice. Number 5 is impersonating stuff that he's seen on TV. So he's doing all these other additional voices too, right? So that's what makes it special.
That's amazing, because I was thinking that. Well, you know what I was thinking though? I was thinking that he's hearing it on the TV. So I was thinking maybe they're using the actual recordings from the TV to mimic those sounds, and then just number 5's voice just being number 5's voice. So I didn't think it was Blaney that was doing that.
Yeah, he's doing all of that. He's doing imitating number 5, imitating the TV, or imitating number 5, imitating the Three Stooges, and so on and so forth. So that was all fascinating. So he's like, he has a huge range.
Most definitely.
Right.
I know I would be wore out that day. I'll be like, look, if I was returning home from my wife, and I'll be like, look, baby, I had a long day. I was arguing with myself the whole entire time that I was on set. So I'm gonna take a nap and call it a day.
Right.
But yeah, according to Fisher Stevens, the character Ben was originally intended to be Caucasian. The role was then rewritten to be more of a comedic ethic part after Bronson Pinchot was in talks to play Ben. When the deal with Bronson fell through, Fisher was asked if he could make his accent more ethnic to make Ben's scripted lines funnier. Fisher spent 5 weeks living in India to prepare for the role. His performance convinced many viewers that he was Indian, but Fisher stated that he would never be able to play that role again.
Yeah, he couldn't do it today, and that is the truth. So to dovetail into this one, major confusion occurred in India among fans when this movie was released. Many people who had seen the film thought that Fisher Stevens was actually Bollywood actor Javed Jafari. This was due to Javed being the spitting image of Fisher Stevens with his beard and his round eyeglasses. Javed had just had his first release Mary Jung in 1985. In the film, he sported round eyeglasses and a beard. When this movie was released in India, many thought Javed had acted in a Hollywood movie. It was only after Javed confirmed in interviews that another actor starred in this movie that people finally knew the truth, which is crazy. Like, so Fisher Stevens' characterization of an Indian immigrant was so good that people in India thought that he was Indian. So, but still is problematic, as you'll let us know in the next trivia bit.
Right. But I think that's actually fascinating, but also too, that's just awesome in a sense because of the fact that, you have people from India that can basically he actually helped represent Indian people in a sense. I'm trying to look at the positive outlook of it, but I can understand why he wouldn't want to play that part again because of that. But in 2015, comedian S.A.I.N.T had a discussion with Stevens about Stevens playing that role of Indian American scientist, and S.A.I.N.T said that he grew up strongly disliking both the role as a stereotype and Stevens for ever accepting it. But he felt Stevens was not a villain after talking to him and simply an actor who needed a job at a time when crucial considerations were simply ignored in making movies. Stevens described how he would research to make Ben into a non-stereotype, and that he regretted how the character made people of South Asian descent feel in the end. And then S.A.I.N.T and Stevens agreed that if Short Circuit was either a new film or a remake in the present day, the role of Ben should and would be played by an actor of South Asian background.
Oh yeah, that absolutely goes without saying. Unless they change the character of Ben altogether, it would definitely be played by a different actor. But still, I'm glad that like Aziz and Sari had this conversation because like back in the 80s, like I said, they didn't care about cultural insensitivity. Like, especially if you look at the ethnic groups in our own country and how they've been portrayed in TVs or as mascots for sports teams and so on in infinity, right? So
Right.
But it's great that that conversation took place and some understanding was achieved. So at the point, right. So at the point where number 5 first hears the El DeBarge song, Who's Johnny, while driving the Nova van, the original choice for the song for that section was the Dire Straits song Money for Nothing. But unfortunately, getting the rights to use that song was deemed to be too costly. Absolutely. And that was the strongest thing about this movie was that song, Who's Johnny by El DeBarge. That was just that was a great song, and it was a great song for this movie, and it matches the movie perfectly. I guess they wrote the song for the movie.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because don't forget, asking rights for music is actually really cost effective. You know what I mean? I know with the Sopranos and everything, they cost them cost maybe about 20 grand or more to actually feature some music that was actually licensed.
So besides this one, there was another movie that El DeBarge did, and that came out around this time. I think it was The Last Dragon, and he did this a song in that one that was a huge hit. So they back in the day, they were doing good. Rights are expensive. And then there was a thing where they can't use certain you can't see certain media anymore because the rights issues aren't straightened out. So like I was looking at the Boomerang soundtrack and for
oh god,
they have a right, and I was looking at it for at I forgot one of the, I think I was using YouTube Music because I got that subscription, but some songs are not in the soundtrack because of the rights issues. So I guess there's some rights issues with I forgot the name of this group. There's one R&B group that I can't remember, but their songs are not on the soundtrack, and now I'm kind of bummed out because they sing some of my favorite songs. So now I got to go and see if I have the physical CDs for that group because rights issue, man. Yeah.
Another thing too that could be a problematic though is too some artists are like, well, does somebody die in this movie? Because if someone dies in this movie, I don't want you guys to use my music if there's any kind of violence or anything like that. So there's also that kind of rights issue though too.
Right.
So that's also
right.
another thing. But you know, it's a kids movie, so I don't see a problem with that. So,
I think it's different with movies than it is with certain other properties. I like it can still be in the movie, but if a movie puts out a soundtrack and there's a rights issue, then they'll pull those songs from the soundtrack if it's streaming somewhere.
right, exactly. So, one of the subtle ways in which the movie shows number 5 becoming alive is the grateful transition from referring to himself in the third person to the first person, implying a development of self awareness. This is particularly evident when he says, I am alive to Crosby, after repeatedly saying number 5 is alive earlier in the movie.
Right. So we get it. He's getting it. I guess you could say that he's more as he becomes more sentient and more aware, then he's more what the word I'm looking for? I guess you could say he's more alive now.
Right, exactly. He came to terms with the fact that he's alive rather than him thinking that he's a robot. So that's actually a perfect transition, especially in the middle of the film.
Right. So that's it for the trivia provided by IMDb. I want to give thanks to IMDb for making it easy to gather information. And we're going to transition to our next segment, see what the critics thought. And we're back. We're going to see what the critics thought of Short Circuit. Critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 61%. Audience gave it a 67%. So not exactly rotten. And on IMDb reviews, it's a 6.6 out of 10, which is incredible because I use these stats all the time. And IMDb reviews are typically lower graded than Rotten Tomatoes, and here they're remarkably consistent. So that's amazing. So the first reviewer is Felix Vaquez Jr. from Cinema Craze, and he wrote, in the spectrum of Mac and Me and E.T., it's right there smack dab in the middle with Batteries Not Included. I concur. I think he's got the right of it, right?
Yeah, I think he understands the gif of it, and he understands the context of it. So that's always a good thing that he actually he actually went on ahead and referenced Mac and Me and E.T. and Batteries Not Included, which is actually a perfect transition with all three of them because of the fact that Stephanie believed that Johnny Five was an extraterrestrial, while also too he thinks that he's alive, so therefore Batteries Not Included, and it has like a little bit of Mac and Me kind of flavor with the team up with Stephanie and him.
Right. And then and also not as bad as Mac and Me, but definitely not as good as E.T.
Definitely not. Basically, Mac and Me is like the best volume male of E.T. It's good, but not as good as E.T.
Right. So Gene Sisco from Chicago Tribune, he's my frenemy. The film has nowhere to go except to give us a predictable initial confrontation between Gutenberg and Sheedy over military weapons. He doesn't understand. Come on, Gene. That's not right. You disappoint me, Gene Sisco. I'm surprised that you would write this. I used to watch in the movies. No, what's it called? At the theater, or at the movies, whatever show that day was on. I used to watch that all the time. And Gene, I usually I felt like he represented the audience, but sometimes he's wrong.
You see, though, I like listening to critics on some level because of the fact that I like listening to people that I disagree with, because it's not fun to listen to people that you actually agree with. So I like the fact that, I can actually disagree with some aspects on what somebody says and then also agree with some things that somebody says. But with this one, this guy is completely wrong. I'm just going to be honest, because he doesn't understand the initial idea of what Short Circuit actually is and what it means to someone in the 80s that loves this movie. There it goes way past the military weapons.
Right.
But Rob Human Neck, production booth, the lack of single malicious bone in the film ensures that its generally heartfelt approach never collapses to mere Nick.
Right.
Then you also had Desmond Ryan, Philadelphia Inquirer. One of the stranger ironies to be found in Hollywood these days is that some of its most resourceful directors use high-tech wizardry and state-of-the-art movie technology to make films that rail against the training of science. How do you feel about that statement?
I mean, I guess, and you're going to get that, but it's not really the tyranny of science; it's the application of science, right? So it's not. So he's kind of wrong in the aspect of it's science is not a tyranny. Science is just the search for knowledge, right? So and then you can take that the science in itself or the products of scientific research don't impose a tyranny. It's the people who use these products that are imposing the tyranny or whatever. So he's wrong in that aspect. So it's like, and this the movie isn't about the destructiveness of robots. The movie is about a robot that finds out that he's alive and him trying to prove his sentience. It's so it's like some people, it's like they watch the movie and it's like, oh, it's just about robots. Like, no, it's about a particular robot who's trying to prove that he's alive, right?
Exactly. Some people over complicate it whenever it should be just simple, you know?
Right. Or they sometimes I feel like in this instance he's purposely identifying the meaning of the movie. It seems maybe he doesn't like science fiction. Sometimes you get that, right? So
Right.
So that's it from the critics' thoughts from Rotten Tomatoes. That was fun doing that. Finally, Short Circuit is, as of this recording, available for purchase on streaming video services everywhere. My copy was on sale at Vudu for $4.99. That's it for today. Now we're going to swing back to I was supposed to rewrite that. I'm reading from a script, ladies and gentlemen, and I got some stuff in the script that I was supposed to change, did not change. I'm supposed to give you what we're supposed to watch next week, but I don't know. I don't know what we're going to watch next week. I have like Superman 2, but I've already done the Superman 2 episode. So what are we going to watch? I have no idea. So just follow us on Twitter or TikTok at Backlook Cinema, or Facebook or Instagram at Backlook Cinema Podcast for updates. I'll try to let you know what the next movie is going to be. And don't forget that you can contact us with any questions or comments and suggestions at fanmail at backlookcinema.com. So, John, do you have any additional plug? Actually, I didn't have you plug all of your stuff the first time. So plug your stuff, man. Let us know where we can find you.
Okay, so you guys can go in and follow me at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Night on Facebook, underneath the same brand name on Instagram and on Pinterest as well, but I don't get on Pinterest that much. So you guys can also head over to Twitter and follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit. And also too, you can also go on and reach out to me at movieloversnight@gmail.com. And, of course, you guys can go on ahead and subscribe over to my channel on YouTube and all that fun stuff as well. But I'm going to be uploading a trailer reaction to Andor tomorrow, and that's going to be available for everyone to watch sometime in the afternoon or morning hour. So stay tuned for that.
No, actually, I had this episode is not going to come out until next week, but I'll let people know that about the trailer reaction for tomorrow. Right. Okay. So yeah, I saw that. I saw Andor. I saw the new trailer for it. I was like, I'll just say that. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they're doing something. They're doing something special over at Disney, and I'm glad to see it.
Me too. It has more of a cinematic experience than a TV experience, and I'm hoping that they hold true to the cinematic experience versus the TV. Because with Obi-Wan, there were some elements of it that I felt like it was cinematic, but at the same time, it also felt like a TV show. So I'm hoping that this is nothing but a cinematic experience on a smaller screen that everybody can enjoy. Andor looks like it's fun. It looks like it's entertaining, but also too, you're not relying on the Skywalkers or anything like that to hold up this telling of the story. So that's something that I really am looking forward to, because I'm tired of seeing stuff within the Skywalker universe. I want to see something a little bit more outside of that universe, to where you can make Star Wars feel like the bigger universe than it actually is.
Right, absolutely. So as you heard, you can check out or you can like somebody might say, Google Movie Lovers Unite and you will find everything. And then I will have all the links to Movie Lovers Unite in the show notes. So go ahead and check that out. Believe me, it matters. Be safe. Share a movie from yesteryear with your family. Hug your loved ones. And if you're going to be anything, be outstanding.